Good afternoon, gentlemen of Man vs Fat Swansea, and ladies, if you happen to be out there and tuning in, welcome. We had our final week of the season last night, Man vs Fat Swansea, week 14, season 4, the culmination of a phenomenal campaign that saw us lose over 350 kilos of weight. You're talking well over £700 shifted as a group within 14 weeks, just a little over 3 months. Unreal from you boys. It's been an absolute pleasure to be along with the ride for you, to have front row seats in so many guys changing their lives, changing their habits, making friends, improving their fitness, improving their mental health. The levels of fitness, enjoyment, the decreasing amount of panting heard coming up those stairs to the mez has been a pleasure to witness. Season 4 in and every single season has been better than the last. Can't wait for season 5. Well done to every single one of you on this screen for the bonus goals. Oranges always do so well with their tracking. Also picking up the joint attendance goal with the oranges and reds. Good to see yellows on there as the highest losers of the week. Blues were the only team to finish the season with more than one guy left in the rumble. 3 out of 11 guys managed to lose either every week or only gain once this season. 3 out of 11, absolutely superb. And one of those guys, you won't be surprised, managed to claim the season 4 percentage leader. The biggest loser of the season was Di Price, narrowly edging out Kyle Lewis of the Whites. Di Price has shifted almost 15% of his body weight in a single season. Absolutely unreal from him. Attendance good, pitch goals are good, scales goals are massively high. That is bumped and boosted by the amount of bonus goals given out for the Rumble, but still emphasises just how much more important they are than the goals you score on the turf. We're going to try and whip through this, guys, because I really want to get to my favourite screen, because I'm very excited to share one of the results and also whip through milestones, even though they're on the data and the Hall of Fame sheet. I just want to whip through, because saying them out loud per team really nails home just how many milestones were hit across the clubs this season. We actually gained 7 kilos this week. Perfectly understandable. End of the season, week 14. Quite a few people slowed down and checked out a little bit because there's nothing left to play for. We had the autumn internationals going on. It's the build up to Christmas. I'm sure once we get the cup started and once we get the next season started, those numbers will race right back up. But we can't hammer it every week. It's healthy to have a break. It's healthy to stop sometimes. Absolutely nothing wrong with us gaining as a club. I think it's the first time in a couple of seasons we've done that. So not a biggie at all. You can still see below it though, some guys absolutely smashed the weight loss. Kyle Bamford for the Reds, biggest loser of the week with 2.6 kilos, turned up with a torn calf and a fractured wrist to be biggest loser, to pick up his 5% and massively impact the result for his team, which you'll see on the next screen. Phil just crunches out massive numbers every week, got himself back in the Rumble. Slug, where have you found that, mate? Your weight loss is supreme and consistent. That number's ridiculous. Well done to you, fair play. Martin doing what he does, and Carter coming down sick as a dog, getting the biggest loss for his team, turning out for his team and making sure they had enough numbers to fulfill the fixture. Well done to him. You can see on the left there, yellows and reds doing really well with the overall weight loss for their team. And we move on to my favourite slide. You can see the Scales champions there, nominated by their captains and their teams. And down the left, you can see the results. Marco Banfastin beats Granra 29. 6-0 on the pitch, 5-1 on the scales. Howell Pugh, Magic Man, our fantastic player facilitator. He picked up 5 goals for his team because of his remaining status across 14 weeks in the Rumble. He was the last man standing for the Blacks, as was Kyle Lewis for the Whites. Lee Oates cruelly and narrowly misses out in the last week with a small gain in week 14, but that does not diminish everything that he's achieved this season. He's lost 15, 16 kilos across this season. And this goes for any guys who were knocked out in week 14, week 12, week 9, week 7. There's a very, very, very good chance, and I know this to be true based on the feedback that a lot of you have given us for the Rumble, that those streaks would have been much shorter were you not in this competition, this concept that we've introduced this season. It has kept streaks and strings of consistency going a lot longer than it would have done without it. Guys have been able to put losses back to back to back and see the large progress that comes with small steps, much clearer than they would have done if we weren't running the Rumble. That's the point of it. That was the idea of it. That was the hope of it. And it seems to have gone really well and done exactly what it says on the tin. It will be coming back for next season, I assure you of that. Well done to the Whites. Flying Dutchman, an actual draw on the scales. You do not see a draw on the scales, particularly that low. A 1-1 draw on the scales happens very rarely. but the result swung in the Oranges' favour, largely down to Callum being the only last man standing for them. Yellows, interestingly enough, were the only team out of the 8 not to have anyone left in the rumble at the end, although they did have a couple of guys like Aaron Day and Slug and Andrew going great guns, who built up some good streaks this season. Thin it to win it. This is the one I was really excited to get my teeth stuck into. They won by 2 goals, 2018 over Fatastuta. Fatastuta actually dominated the pitch result, although the report from their captain Mayo suggests that the score belies how close the game actually was, and it was just a case of Reds' legs disappearing in the last 5 minutes of the match. But Reds won on the scales, Reds won on the tracking, they won on the bonus as well. They picked up 1 bonus goal for the joint best attendance. They picked up 5 due to Darrell hitting a big loss and getting himself back in the rumble. Fatastuta had 5 because Owen Llewellyn remains in the rumble. But the big difference here is Kyle Bamford coming in with a double injury on 1 arm with 1 leg, hitting the biggest loser of the week, scoring half a goal for his team for losing. He tracked, scoring a third of a goal there for his team. Everything gets rounded up. But the biggest difference was those 3 goals for that magic sweet 5% that he hit. And you know what I'm going to say here? It would have been a loss without him. It would have been 17-18 to Fatastuta without that milestone. Kyle coming down injured when he can't play, when he's probably in quite a lot of pain. Would have been very easy for him to put his feet up at home and say, I can't come down, sorry guys, particularly as we were in the middle of a monsoon in Swansea at that time. But he still came down, he still turned in a massive loss. His injury has not derailed his weight loss whatsoever, showing that he is here for absolutely the right reasons. Injured or not, that guy is dominating his weight loss right now. 5%, 3 goals, thin it to win it, win. Thank you to Carl Bamford. Phenomenal from him, well done. And then Vinder Blues, the scoreline massively inflated by the fact that, as I said, they are the only team with 3 guys left in the rumble, the only team with more than 1 guy left standing. Di, Aaron, Phil. Phil got himself back in with a loss this week. Absolutely phenomenal from them. Unreal performance to have 16 bonus goals, 15 for between the 3 guys that remain, and then of course the extra 1 because they had 3 guys left to everybody else's 1. Yeah, fantastic from them. Greens actually won the pitch 5-2 in the end. I've got that number slightly wrong. That pitch score should not be a 0, it should be a 1. They had -4, unfortunately, for needing a couple of borrows. Seemed to be a week for them where every single one of their guys was unavailable. A bit of a perfect storm, but they rallied. They still won on the pitch 5-2. Yeah, just to go through some of the milestones. We'll start with the Greens because that's where we ended. They've had James come along this season. James Lewis hit his 5%, as has Butty, recently joined us, remains in the rumble, got them 5 bonus goals, also hit his 5% this season. TG, 5%, that was quite a quiet one that went under the radar. Thomas Griffiths hitting his 5%. They had Captain Dean hit his 10% this season, and they had Corey Davis smashed 20% of his body weight, and again was one of the gents to miss out on finishing as a winner in the rumble with a gain in week 14, but has been on a phenomenal journey this season. For the Blues, I mean, where'd you start with the Blues? They're 3 stars this season. Di, Aaron, and Phil between them had 5 milestones each. 5 milestones together with just those 3 guys. You had Phil hit his 5 and his 10% this season. In just 7 weeks of being with us, he only joined halfway through the season. The guy's already shipped 10% of his body weight. Di hit his 10 and his 15% this season. Aaron Harris got that much coveted 15% that he's been chasing for a long time. Phenomenal from them, but do not forget about the efforts of someone like Ryan Hawkins, who actually came along and smashed his 5% in a week where it was really important for his team. Some phenomenal stuff happening there in the Blues. Really well led by Benji, really well organised on the pitch by someone like Mike at the back. Fantastic from them. Spent an entire season without a keeper, which is tough to do, but have rotated it amongst themselves. Retained a fantastic team spirit. Done really well to finish second. That's gone quietly under the radar as well, with the attention of just the Whites running away with the league. The Blues were not that far behind. Kept pace with them and are a worthy second place finisher out of the 8 teams. Well done to them. They could be ones to watch for next season. For the Reds, the team with the most newbies this season, they had a few experienced heads leave very early on, and they've had 8, maybe 9 new faces come in. Definitely the most green and inexperienced team, but they have not let it stop them. They've picked up vital wins. They've lost the most weight this season, with the only team to lose over 70 kilos as one unit. And they've had a bevy of 5%. Thomas Scott, Dan Kerwin, Martin, Darrell, Ross, Gareth Williams, Dylan, and Kyle Bamford all hitting their 5%. You had, 8 guys out of 11 hit 5% this season. Phenomenal. Fatistuta, Paul and Joel came along this season and both have lost their 5% awards. Phenomenal from them. And then you had the double M, the Magic Men, Manning and Mayo, both of them losing 15% of their body weight. Absolutely unreal. Manning losing a lot more than that in clothes each week too. Mayo, been with us since day one and has just slowly crunched it out. Not rushing, not racing, is well aware of the fact he's going to have weeks where his life takes over, work takes over, there's a lack of motivation, he has weeks where he gains. But to his credit, he is one of the most resilient and internally strong men I've ever met. Has phenomenal fortitude to never let anything knock him off course or upset his rhythm for too long. It might for a week, it might for 2, it might for 3, but he has such power and strength to get a stranglehold of the situation back on his favour and get back on the horse and start losing again. He's hit 5%, he's dipped back under it, and then he's hit 10%, he's dipped back under it. He's got the 15% now with a phenomenal attitude and pragmatism. Is an inspiration to many, and I know that every single one of those purple boys are very, very happy being under his care as captain. Well done, Mayo. For the Oranges, you had this season Danny hitting his 5%, Carl and Callum both hit their 10%. Well done to those boys. Brian and Chizzy hitting their 15%. Again, these are quiet milestones that you might have missed in the slew of celebration that we have every week. Someone like Dangerous Brian hitting 15%. Did you all you boys know that he'd done that? He's such a quiet, unassuming character in our ranks. As much as he's beloved, he's lost 15% of his body weight. Unreal from him. And then the biggest loss of the season for them, Scott Mayo, not to be outdone by his brother, has lost 20% of his body weight. Again, just like his brother, has that mindset of just nothing knocks him off course. If it doesn't happen this week, I'll try again next week. If it doesn't happen for a fortnight, no worries, I'll try it again next week. Constantly just goes and goes and goes. Takes every setback and every knockback and every disappointment in his stride. It just keeps working hard. Lost 20% of his body weight. Unreal. For the Yellows this season, we saw Aaron Day hit his 5%. Nathan Alagosta came in as a new boy, one of the best newcomers we've had in the league this season, lost his 5%. Andrew Hayward, 10%, phenomenal from him. Slug as well, 10%. Aaron Day took his 5 and doubled it and hit his 10%. And Craig Speakman, again, another quiet one that might have slid under the radar that a lot of people won't have picked up on. Craig Speakman hit his 10% for us this season as well. Just milestones across the board, a lot of them that you would have forgotten about. The amount of milestones we hit this season is what other leagues would spend 3, maybe 4 seasons accomplishing. We're doing it in 1. There are so many guys here losing so much weight, changing their lives, changing their fitness. Clothes are fitting better. They're feeling more confident. They're getting compliments from their family. They've got more energy to spend with their kids, more energy to spend with their partner, where, hey, they're doing better at work. They're sleeping better. They've got a much better work-life balance. They're just feeling happier and healthier in themselves. And we forget week to week because it's always about celebrating what's coming next. Sometimes it's nice to reflect on what we've done, and just writing these names down and seeing how many milestones have been hit is humbling. It really is. It's quite emotional, to be honest. We need to look at what we've achieved in just 1 season. That's not even to speak about what we've done in the 3 seasons previous. Anyway, moving on before I get too misty-eyed and this becomes a half an hour ramble. For the Blacks this season, Max has hit his 10%. Howell Pugh hits his 20%, and something that we actually missed. There's a rule in MvFF on the system that states you can only be awarded for 2 milestones per season. And the way it displays it on the system when someone hits a milestone, the reason why you might know that you've hit a milestone, but you see Howell or me having to sit there and wait for the system to refresh before we tell you that you've hit your milestone and confirm it on the system, is because the box goes from white to a lovely bright yellow when someone hits a milestone. But you have to refresh to see if it's actually changed the colour and if the system's going to award the 3 goals. For someone like Chris Shaw, he already had 4 milestones last season. So he pulled through his 15% and his 20% week 1 of this season and was awarded them week 1 straight away because he achieved it last season. Which meant, and I don't like this rule, but those counted as his 2 milestones for this season as well. This season, Chris Shaw actually hit his 25%, and he actually just last week crept over and become the first man in Man vs Fat Swansea history to hit his 30%. But because he'd already hit 2 milestones, when we're refreshing the system, that box does not change yellow. And we missed it. I should have been more on top of it and should have been checking manually, relying on the system and the colour of the boxes to tell me. But we actually missed it because of that technicality. Chris Shaw is one of the only small bunch of men. I think we've maybe had 5 tops hit 25%. We've never had a guy hit 30%. I'm absolutely gutted to have missed the photo opportunity. We will absolutely get it on awards night or season or week 1 of the new season. Whenever we find Mr. Shaw next, the monolithic weight loss hero, the absolute mountain of dropping kilos. 30% of his body weight. He's almost lost a third of himself since he started this league. A third of him just gone. Unreal from him. Apologies, massive apologies we missed it, mate. I really don't like that rule on the system. What it does mean for your team, though, is the next time that we come along in 2 weeks at the start of the Competitive Scales Cup that we're going to run, you will be pulling through 25 and 30% and scoring 6 goals for your team straight away. So look out anyone who's playing Scranrar in that first week. And then we move on to Marco Banfastin. Our Scales champions are overall league champions. The amount of milestones here, they were very narrowly second to Thin It to Win It in the overall team weight loss league, finishing second by only 1 or 2 kilos. They've got stalwarts, they've got icons, they've got OGs of our league. So many guys changing their lives. They managed to pick up along the way a couple of new boys. Faces like Craig Bowles have come in and done really well. Lee Oates has come in and done really well. It hasn't disrupted any of their momentum. They've been brilliant on the pitch, brilliant on the scales. They're a great group of lads as well, supporting and helping each other as well as other teams around them. 5%, we had Lee Oates and Di Gurman, Di Scoff, Di Goff, Captain Di, whatever you want to call the guy. He's 5% smaller than he was at the start of the season. Phenomenal to him. 10%. How do we list them? You've got Carol, Kyle, CJ, and Lee all hit their 10%. Phenomenal, fantastic. What other superlatives and adjectives can I come up with for that? But we move on. That's not it. 15%. We had Byron, Carol, and Kyle. So you can see a theme here of guys hitting multiple milestones in one season. Carol has picked up his 10 and his 15. Kyle has picked up his 10 and his 15. Lee has picked up his 5 and his 10. Absolutely phenomenal from them, but unbelievable. Don't forget about Byron as well. I think a lot of the attention with Byron is on the pitch because he's just such a phenomenally gifted player. One of the most naturally talented players I've ever seen on a MvFF pitch. But the guy's crushing it with a weight loss as well. Do not forget about the amount of difference he's making to his team on the scales. He's lost 15% of his body weight this season. Absolutely phenomenal from him. 20%, Shahi Ahmed. Your favourite, my favourite, everybody's favourite. What more is there to say about this lovable rogue? 20% of his body weight just gone. Something that he's worked incredibly hard to. I don't know if Shahi shares this with the Whites. I don't know if it's been shared with the league. I'm not even sure if he wants me to share it, but I'm going to because I want everyone else to know. Shahi's actually been doing a little bit of work outside MvFF. Lost quite a lot of weight before he started us. He's approaching, having lost, since he started losing weight, 100 kilos dropped. Yeah, Shahi, sorry if I've let the cat out of the bag, mate, but it's something that needs to be celebrated and shouted about and known. 100 kilos. What can you say about that? You know, put it into context, this season, you boys as a unit lost 350, and Shahi's, over the course of the last 4 seasons of MvFF and a little bit of extra work he's been doing himself outside of it too, lost almost 100 as one man. Yeah, the difference in him, the way he's changed his life, changed his habits, changed his relationship with food, changed his relationship with himself. 100 kilos. That's silly numbers. That's ridiculous. Congratulations to him. Well done, mate. Yeah, you're a phenomenal person, a phenomenal friend, a phenomenal part of this league. You deserve all the plaudits and credit that you get, even if you feel like you don't deserve it. You do. And then, be on my boss, Dan Griff, superstar keeper, the only man I've met so far in the month of November who's able to pull off the Tom Selleck. Just phenomenal from him. Down to his being my boss, and is able to float there and stay there as well. He's managing really well to stay under that 25 marker. score those extra goals for his team each week. I'm really going to sneeze and I'm almost on a roll. We'll move on. So many milestones there was the point. Every single team, whether you finish first, whether you finish fifth, whether you finish 10th, every single team, milestones lost, weight lost, lives changed. That's what we're here for. No matter where you finish, yes, it's lovely to get medals and trophies and certificates. Yes, it's lovely to win. But the win here is that you're smaller than you were when you started. The win here is that 14 weeks on, so many of you are smaller than you were in week one. You've lost weight. You've been changing your life, changing your mentality, improving your mental health. That's the win. That's the victory here. Just helps sometimes if there's a bonus on top of actually winning something along the way. Rumble, we started with 90. We had 9 guys left. You can see there, Blues, the only multiple winning team. Owen, fantastic for the Purples. Aaron, Di and Phil for the Blues. Butty for the Greens. Kyle for the Whites. Darryl for the Reds. Howell for the Blacks. Callum for the Oranges. Every single one of them picked up 5 goals for their team. Every single one of them has lost either for 14 weeks straight or only gained once this season and then activated their second life. I think Kyle and Di are the only 2 on there that have lost every single week without even needing their second lives. Came into last night knowing that even if they gained, their second lives would have saved them and they still would have been in the Rumble. But they lost weight anyway. Probably pushed by the rivalry they're having in the Biggest Loser table. Di narrowly picking up the victory there. But yeah, even when the pressure was off and they could have relaxed, they didn't and they still lost. Phenomenal. Just how many times have I said phenomenal in this video? That's it, chaps. Fantastic season. Thank you to every single one of you. Thank you to every single member, vice captain, captain, member of the events team, member of the staff team. Massive thank you to Clayton for refereeing this season. We wouldn't have been able to have our season without him. You boys wouldn't have had matches without him. Thank you to Dan Hunt. Thank you to Andrew for all their efforts with the medium recording the games. It's such a pivotal and fantastic element of our league, but it does take so much extra work from those boys in the background. It can sometimes feel like they've got an extra full-time job doing it, and I know all you boys appreciate what they do. But yeah, just from everyone in the league and from myself, thank you to you both for what you've done this season. It's made an unreal difference just having that footage. Thank you to Aaron Harris of the Blues for picking up the top scorer goal chart tally this season. Really, really helpful to have someone pick up that little bit and keep it up to date each week. I know there's a lot of you boys in the league who are very interested in seeing who won that. Thank you to the venue as always for a fantastic place to host this league. Moving on now, chaps, we will put out a schedule and a plan for what's happening between now and Christmas. We put a vote to the captains about whether they want to start season 5 immediately or if we want to have a cup competition, a weight loss cup that takes us to the Christmas break so that we can return after Christmas and get stuck into season 5 on the 3rd of January and then just smash 14 weeks with no breaks in between. The captains unanimously voted for a cup rather than beginning the league. We've got a couple of things coming up, like the awards night next week means there's no session. The 29th, Wales v England, means there's no session. The 27th of December for Christmas means there's no session. It's going to be a very stop-start period for the next 4 or 5 weeks up till that Christmas break. There was a potential for a lot of people to have stalled seasons were we to start it in 2 weeks' time. A lot of guys that may not just make any progress because of the amount of breaks that are happening. So the captains voted on a cup. Some more information on that's going to come out. It's going to run exactly the same as a league. The scales count your hat tricks, your milestones, everything pulls through. Your weight last night will be your start weight for the cup. The cup will run until the 20th of December, and then your weight on the 20th of December will be your start weight for January the 3rd. It all pulls through. It'll effectively be as if nothing's changed and we just spend the next 4 weeks having 4 more weeks of this season, basically, to take us through to Christmas, get through this rocky stop-start, stagnated period of lots of breaks, and then come back and smash 14 weeks of season 5 as a 10-team league. It also gives the opportunity for those 2 new teams to bed in, bond, gel with the group and get used to the system and the concept before we start season 5. Next week's awards night, that will be hosted from 7 o'clock up in the Mez. Again, we'll put a post out about this with the schedule so you can see. We won't be downstairs in the bar this season. We'll be upstairs in the Mez, out of the way, starting at 7 o'clock. Please bring yourselves and your families and whoever else you want to come along. There's lots and lots. There's more to give out this season than there was last season. We evolve and develop our awards every single season. There's a couple of special bits. There's a couple of hopefully funny bits in there. There's a couple of bits from the captains, a couple of bits from our referee. Please come along to the awards night. We're going to start at 7, hopefully be done by about 1:45, maybe 8 o'clock, and then we've got the pitch booking. It's there, so if we wanted a bit of a friendly knock afterwards, we can. Yeah, we'll see you then, boys. Thank you for a phenomenal season and everything you've done. Every single one of you should be damn proud of what you've achieved. Even if you're not too happy with your own journey this season, you will have been part of motivating someone else in your team to hit their own goals, and that deserves a pat on the back for every single one of you. Yeah, I'm going to shut up, I'll let you go, and we will see you at the award session next week. Cheers, chaps.